Hello and welcome to the first in my 3D Maya tutorials, and today I'm going to be showing you the basics, how to create a very simple bouncing ball animation. And anyone that studies animation or knows animation, you always start off with a bouncing ball. Why? Because it's a simple shape and there's a fine art to it, which I'll explain further on in the animation. It involves gravity and things like that. And just getting that right is an art form in itself. And we will be using things such as you can see, squash and stretch, making an area, editing the animation, and set-driven keys. And I apologise, you may notice my voice may sound a bit weird. That's because I'm full of colds. If I sneeze, please ignore it. And for anyone that hasn't got the Maya program and is thinking, oh, this is going to cost me an arm and a leg, do not worry. If you are a student of any kind or an educator, you can simply pop onto the website. Here's me showcasing it earlier. It's student.autodesk.com, or you can just simply Google Autodesk Education and bang, it's Autodesk Education Community. And if you log in, you can get free software. You will have to use your student email account and say which school, college or university you're studying at, and then all this software, all this right here, you can use it. You can download it for free, you get a legal license, you can have all this. And here's Maya right here. You can have from 2012 to 2014. I'm currently using 2013, which I'm going to be sticking to for a while. So yeah, if you want the free software, here is the place to go. I may put a link in the YouTube description, just so it's there. And it doesn't take that long to download, and I have a really poor internet connection, so yeah, if I can do it, you can. So, as I say, what we're going to be setting up this little project, and we'll be going through it step by step. But before you do any projects, I cannot emphasize this enough, you must set up a project folder. Why? It stores everything in one place. You're not frantically looking for the textures and thinking, oh, where the heck is this? Oh, what am I going to do? Etc. So, because it's going to be my first project, I'm going to go to File, Project Window. If you have a folder already, you can set the project. Now, I'm going to call this one Ball. There it is. And I'm going to see where the location is. So I'm just going to click on this. Unfortunately, my window is running a bit slow at the moment. As you can see, when you get create scene or a new Maya file, it goes into the scenes folder, assets, images, source images. You put everything in the project folder. Why? So you just pick up that one folder and put in your USB stick, your portable hard drive, or if you're submitting it as a project, there you go. So it is C drive, user, Didivix, documents, Maya projects. So there we go. So I click accept. I'm just going to double check that it's created that folder. You don't have to double check this. This is just me showing you for anyone that's using project files for the first time. So Maya, projects, ball, and there's the folders. He's even got my workspace in there. So these are your automatic folders. So when I went to this project, copy that folder, done. I have seen too many people put their texture files and put this file here and that file there, and it just won't read it. Put it in the one folder. There, that's enough of me ranting. So I'm going to set up a new project. So I'm going to save. This is one I created earlier. I'm going to save this. Whenever you save, you will get this window because you are using a student version. Just click continue. So I'm going to create a new scene. Yes, I have already saved this. I'll just get rid of that. So now we have a new scene, and earlier I turned off the graph, so I'm just going to turn that back on. We are using the default perspective window, and you can move around in this area. I'm going to press Alt on my keyboard, and I'm going to use the left mouse button to rotate the scene. Now I'm using, still holding Alt, I'm going to use the middle mouse button to, I think it is toggle, so just physically move it around. And still pressing Alt, I'm going to use the right mouse button to pan in and out, or zoom in and out. I think pan's the correct camera word for it. And if you want to do things quick, you can look over here. If I want to go to the front, I can click the front. If I want to go to top, I can click on there. If I want to go to perspective, I click on home. It takes me back to perspective. So this is all very handy. Now, since we're going to be using a bouncing ball, we're going to have to create it. So, very quickly, make sure you're in animations, and you can either do it by create, NURBS primitive sphere, or the alternative, you can go on, let's see, the surfaces, and you can click on the ball icon here. So there's two ways of doing it. You can either do it for the menu, or you can do it for the icons here. I'm just going to quickly do it for the icons, and I'm going to hold Shift on my keyboard. I'm just going to click and drag to make the sphere. Now, hopefully you should have your channel box open. If you don't, it's this little guy at the top here. See, I'm turning it on and off. And at the moment, I'm not really happy with where it's positioned, so I'm going to be editing these settings in a moment. Now with NURBS, you also get inputs down here. I'm going to click this to open up the options there. Oh, I'm going to turn that off. Let's turn off. There we go. That's the setting I had on earlier, the manipulator tool, which we don't need, so ignore that for the moment. So yes, we've got this ball, and I want to make these nicer numbers. I don't like these point something something numbers, so I'm going to stick this to a 2. So I'm quite happy with that, and that means that this ball is size 2. Now you can see it's going through the grid there, so this is where we're going to be adding the translate. And the way this works, if I click on X, we can see this is X. I can move it around here. Y controls the up and down, and Z is usually used for depth. So we got all those. You can also manually put the numbers in yourself. So I'm just going to put 0 for Z, and I believe because it's Y up and down, I can put in 2 because it's too high. And for X, for now, I'm going to put 0. So I'm quite happy with that. And as you can see, we've got this wireframe look to it. So if I click on the ball, we look over here in the window, we've got wireframe. We can see it's smooth or smooth with lines. So when I click away, you can see the line still, or turn that off. Or back to wireframe. So those are quite nice to use. I'm going to stick on wireframe at the moment. Actually, I'm going to put it on smooth just to make things nice. I like seeing an object. So back to home view. Now I've got our ball at the ready, we've got to create the surface it's going to be bouncing on, because there's no point in bouncing in mid-air. So we're going to go to polygons. So again, you can do that by pressing create, polygons primitive plane, or you can click on polygon tab here and click on the surface of the plane surface. Again, holding shift to keep everything in proportion, I'm going to click and drag. And again, I'm not quite happy with where it's positioned. So again, I'm going to go to translate and press 0 and 0 down here. So those are all nice 0, 0, 0, 0 and 1 on the scale. Make sure your scales are on and visibility is turned on. And again, I can manually change the width of this by going into polygon plane and selecting these. I'm going to click and drag, select those two and turn it to 45. I want quite a nice big surface there. Another thing I always emphasize on is labeling your objects. So I'm going to click on the floor, I'm going to double click in my channel box, well that's polygon plane 1. I'm going to change that to just floor. So as you can see here, it's got a floor shape there. And for the ball, it's NURBS sphere 1. Well, I just want this as ball. it's very good labeling all these, and when we go into more advanced settings with animations and joints and skeletons and all that, you'll see how handy this is. One thing I'm going to do as well, I'm going to get rid of this grid in this perspective view. So I'm just going to turn that off, and there we go. If you do want to be able to view your ball in different viewpoints, we can go on to the viewpoints here. At the moment it's set to single perspective view. I can click below and go to full view. I may be using this in this project a few times. Another handy thing you could do, let's say I want to go to top and have that maximized. I can hover over here, make sure this window's selected, press spacebar really quick, and it goes there. If I want to go back to the full view, spacebar again. There we go. If I want to go to perspective, hover over perspective. It's so easy when you want to just view things really quickly. Another thing I will be doing, I'm going to move this ball to the side. So we're going to be using the X. So you click on X there, or you can click on the move, rotate, or scale tool. We're not going to be doing any rotation or scaling, so we're just going to move him. And clicking on the X here, I'm going to move it back. And I'll do it by -20. I like round numbers. And there we go. Another handy tip, if you want to zoom into an object really quickly, you can click on it, press F, and it zooms in. Click on home, back to home. Or if you want it in all the four viewpoints, I believe it's Shift and A. Yep, Shift and A, and you've got the ball in all the viewpoints like that. So make a big note of the different shortcuts. I may make a list of the shortcuts in the description in a moment, once I finish recording this and rambling on. So we've got the ball. Another thing we've got to do, we've got to set the hoop that it's going to jump through, because hoops are nice. It just adds a little bit to it. So what we're going to do, we're going to use another NURBS again, and I'm going to go into the perspective view. We're going to go into, again, like you create NURBS, and it's going to be torus. Again, you can go into surfaces and the icon will be there. And again, holding shift, you're going to make a big donut. That's a very big donut. Again, if you want to create it, you can go into surfaces and there it is. But up to you, which you find easier. So there's my big donut, and it doesn't look like a hoop of any kind, just a juicy donut. So I'm going to click on this guy, and again, renaming him Hoop. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to go into Make NURB Torus. And in here, I can change all these settings. So we've got radius, I'm going to set that to a nice 5. It's a bit smaller. And what we're going to do here, we've got height ratio. That's a good one. So I'm going to turn this, it's at 0.5. I'm going to turn this to 0.05, and that makes it a lot thinner. So if I highlight these things, you can see how that changes. What I'm doing, I'm highlighting these, going to the scene, clicking my middle mouse button and dragging. You get this little icon to show that you can change the setting, the value of it, by dragging. So I'm going to turn it back into a hoop. And also I want to be a bit smoother, so I want to have more selections. So go to the selections and turn that to 16. So there we go. I'm not happy with where it is, so I'm going to go into the translates here and set these all to 0. Default 0 position. I do want it to move up a bit, so I'm going to go into Y, and I'm going to pull it up about, I think 12 would be a nice number. And we also want to rotate it, so we're going to use the rotating settings now. Now you can either do this using the rotation tool here. I'm going to rotate it along Z. Ooh. Or you can manually rotate it here by -90 degrees, or 90. Either way, it's going to flip round. So there we go, we've got our scene set up. Now's a really good time to save your file. How do you do that? File, Save Scene As, and because we set the project earlier, No, it hasn't. I'll set my project folder again. It's because I was messing around with the project, so set project. And ball set. So let's try this again. Save scene as. And here we go. You may have a little glitches now and then, but if you keep a note on where you're saving it, you can't go wrong. So here I'm going to call this ball 01. Continue. Another handy tip, always save in stages. When you get to a certain stage, save it, and then save it as a different file again. Otherwise, if you make a mistake, or if something goes completely wrong, you can easily take a little step back instead of having to do the entire project all over again. And if your computer is having, it's having a bit of trouble handling Maya, this is a very good thing to do. I'll also be giving you tips on how to keep your animation nice and clean as we go along. So now we've got our project set up, all we've got to do is actually animate. Now, what we're going to be doing, we're going to be animating in a non-linear fashion, and what that means is that we're going to be setting a movement, going back and adding to that movement, and back and add, just keep adding to it. So, first of all, to set the animation, I'm going to click on this guy here, just selecting the icon because I don't want to see the rotation tools there. Click on this, and you can go to animation, then the animate, set key, or you can press S on your keyboard. I'll mostly be pressing S, but it's just so you know. And now you can see in the channel box this has gone into a weird reddy pinky color. That's just letting me know that this object has an animation attached to it and it's set at frame 1. So you can see we've got a little red line there to say that the animation is set to frame 1. Now at the moment, by default, it's set to 24 frames. I don't want 24 frames, I want 60 for this. I'm going to go big here. So, I'm going to click on the 24 here, because that's show it, at the moment, we've got a value of 48. So I can move this along and go to 48. But really, I want 60, so I'm going to change it in this one, 60, and you can see it jumps all the way to 60. You'll see why in a moment where we're going to use 60. It keeps the numbers nice and even as we go through. So I'm going to click on 60. And one thing you can do, we've got down here, auto key. Now I've got it turned on at the moment. If I turn it off, you can see it's turned off there, I can move my ball, so I'm going to use the move tool, and move it to the other side of the floor, make it a nice 20. Now as you can see, no red line has been put in there. There's no animation on this ball except at the beginning, so I'm going to have to manually put that in by pressing S. And there we go, the animation has been put in there. If auto key was turned on, so I'll do that. Oop. I'm trying to press Control Z. Just going to press Control Z to undo that. So, got no animation to this ball. If I turn auto key on, make sure my timeline is at 60 and pull the ball to the other side, you can see automatically it puts in that animation. So this can be very handy if you want to do things quickly without having to press S all the time, but sometimes it can be a bit of a pain. So just be very aware that auto key is on there. I'm going to keep mine on just to make things flow that much faster. So at the moment we've got an animation. Now at the moment mine's moving quite nicely. If yours is moving way too quickly, it could be that the animation is turned on to play every frame instead of 24 frames per second. So if you want to change that setting, what we've got to do is click on this icon next to the key, Animation Preferences, and it'll open up this window. Yours might be set to play every frame. Make sure you play it at real time, 24 frames a second. Make sure you do that. It does make a difference. Once you've done that, you can press Save. And I'm going to keep it as my default 24 frames. So if you notice, every time you notice your animation playing way too quickly, that's the problem. Okay? So, as you can see, I've just got my ball moving from one side of the floor to the other, just sliding there. Might as well be rolling. But now I can start putting in my little animations. Now I know I want to put in, I want to key in the ball bouncing. So let's have a look at what we're going to have it bounce. So at frame 10, I want it to bounce halfway. At frame 20, I want it to hit the ground again. At 30, it's going to jump up. At 40, it's going to go down here. And at 50, it's going to go up again. Now, what you can do, just to make things a bit easy for yourself, I'm going to go to 20 because I already know it's going to hit the ground here. So I'm going to press S on my keyboard. Because it's not moving, I have to key it. And then at 40, I know it's going to hit the ground again there, so I'm going to press S. So I've keyed in the spots where it's going to be hitting the ground. So those are saved in this timeline here. So now I'm going to go to 10. Actually, I'm going to skip to 30. Let's do the big one first. So here at 30, it's going to be jumping through the hoop. So here, I'm going to pull the ball up. Actually, I'm going to set it to about 11. It's going to have a little jump. So it goes jumping through the hoop, and I can pull this animation just to see how it goes. Sorry for the little jumpings here. Yeah, it goes through the hoop really nicely there. I'm quite happy with that. It's always good to toggle backwards and forwards through your timeline just to see how the animation is playing out. So that's not too bad at the moment, but I want a bit of a jump. So at frame 10, I'm going to pull it up. Let's see. What's a good height? I think an 8 would be a nice height. And the same again at 50. And as you can see here, because I've got an auto key, I don't have to press S on my keyboard. It's automatically saving the changes. Ooh. Okay, it's not bouncing at the end there. What's happening? Okay, I'm going to put that back to 2. There we go. And I'm quite happy with that animation at the moment. So for now, we're going to go to File, Save As. Remember to save. Save Scene As. I could call this Ball 02. Now if we play this animation, we can see the ball's moving fairly nicely, but it's not really, I haven't got much of a sense of gravity here. It's just, you know, floating. It might as well be underwater or one of those Malteser balls. It doesn't have much oomph to it. And in animation, sometimes you do have to over-exaggerate. You've got to make it look as though it's smacking the ground. Gravity's really playing here. At the moment, there's no sense of gravity to this ball. To add in the gravity, to tweak up the animation, there is a very easy way of doing this. That's using the animation editors. So to go to that, you can either go to Panels, and where are we? Layout, or some layouts here, or Save Layouts. Here we go. Save Layouts. Perspective and Graph. Or you can click on this little button down here. It does the same thing. So I click on this and it changes the layout, and if I click on the ball, zoom out, there we go, there's the animations here. So what it gives you is a guide. So if I click on X, which is the ball moving from one side of the floor to the other, we can see that it starts at -20 and that it moves all the way to 20. So here's the value of X, and down below is time. It can be rather tricky getting to understand this, but once you do, it's not too bad. So imagine this is the pathway of the ball going from one side to the other. At the moment we have what I call useless keyframes. We have these two in the middle here which we don't need. So I can select those, click and drag, select those two keyframes and just press delete on your keyboard. Another thing that's really annoying me at the moment is the way this line is curved. I want it to be a straight line because this is not curving around the place. I want it to go straight from one side to the other. I don't want it to be slow, speed up a bit here, then slow again. I want it to just be straight through. So I'm going to select this whole line and I'm going to click on this icon here which will allow me to linear the tangents, or just make it nice and straight. So I'm going to click on that. As you see, it's broken the tangents and made a nice straight line. It may not look like much in terms of animation, but it will play a difference once you get more used to animation. You're looking at timing and everything. And another one we're going to focus on is Y. But before we do that, we've got all these other ones that have been keyframed, which we don't need. So I'm going to delete all these. So I'm going to click on Z, hold Shift, and go to Scale Z, and delete these keyframes. And also visibility, it's going to stay on. So I'm going to delete that as well. And as you see on the channel box, all the others, because I deleted their keyframes, have gone back to black. Well, dark grey. Whereas Y and X are still this weird reddish pink colour. That's because they've still got their animations saved. I haven't deleted those. So now we're going to focus on Y, and it looks kind of flat at the moment. You can tweak this up, and again I'm using Alt and middle mouse button to move this around. You can stretch this up so you can really see the curves. So I'm going to press Alt and Shift and right mouse button. I'm going to drag up. You see I'm just stretching this up a bit, and you can also do it to the sides just to make them a bit bigger. And just move this down a bit. There we go. So remember that's Alt, Shift and right mouse button to get this icon so you can move it up and down. And I'm using Alt and middle mouse button to toggle and get in place. Hopefully when you get more used to using Maya, these shortcuts will come to you really quickly. So what we've got here, this line represents the ball moving up and down. As we can see here at 30, this is when it's hitting the top there. At 10, when it's slightly lower, and at 50 here. Ooh, no, when you double click that, just click it one more time, it stops that red. And here is 2 when it hits the bottom of the floor there. So now I want to make this line a bit better. I want it to really smack the ground, but at the moment it's just going far too smoothly. I want it to spend a bit more time at these top ones and as little time as possible at these bottom ones. And what we got here is called a tangent. So if I select this handle, I can use my middle mouse button and move this around. So I can move it up there so my ball suddenly goes weird there. Just pressing Ctrl Z to undo that. We also have this thing called tangents. There's a little handle here. If I select one side, click on my middle mouse button and drag, you can see there's like a seesaw effect there. So if I move the ball, you can see it goes you see that point where it goes underneath 2, the line goes underneath 2. It's like the pathway. I don't want that to happen. I can't have that happening. So what we're going to do, we're going to break these tangents. So I'm going to click and drag and select all the bottom ones that are going to be broken. And over here, you'll notice we've got unified tangents and break them. So I can click on the break icon, this weird V color. As you can see, they've gone into different colors. So now, if I select this one here, and then click and drag and select the handle, you can see this one moves independently of the other one. So I'm going to drag this around a bit. Make this, don't drag whole thing. And just tweak this enough just to get this as like a V as possible. And you may be wondering, how the heck am I doing this? I'm just looking at the middle here and just looking at the thin lines there and just making them look as even as possible. So I'm just keeping my eye on that. So we've got a bit of a more of a curvy M shape here. I'm just going to, actually I'm going to leave those just so you can see the difference at the beginning. So I'm just going to play this animation. So here you can really see the difference. It's going bang, and then here it's just floating. So you got a better sense that the ball is really smacking the ground. That I can stop this animation. That here it's spending a bit more time. The way the path works is that it's zooming up as quickly as it can to the top value here, and it's spending as much time as possible at 8. So it's like it's struggling with gravity. You know, the way the ball bounces, it's quick on the ground, but then as it goes up, gravity starts to slow its speed down. It's not, then it goes bash down again. So it's going bash. So I want to carry on with this with the other ones. Just quickly. Ooh, this is a bit fiddly. Don't want it to be going off a bit. No. Ooh. I think I'll also tweak that one up to make this a bit more even. Just have a little click. Yeah. Just the same. It is quite a bit of tweaking, but it is worth it in the end. There we go. And there you've created a basic bouncy ball animation. So what I'm going to do very quickly is File, Save As, and save this as ball free. Remember, save in different stages. And there we go, I'm going to wrap that for today. So next time we're going to be looking at adding a squash and using selector and keys.